Namaskar दोस्तों, my name is Hemant Gupta and today I am going to discuss with you procedural aspects of filing Form 10A and 10AB which are to be filed in relation to newly inserted section 12AB with regard to seeking registration or re-registration of trust institutions claiming exemption of income under section 11 and 12 of Income Tax Act and section 23C of Income Tax Act. So relevant rules applicable for these form would be Rule 2C in relation to section 1023C, Rule 5CA in relation to section 35, Rule 11AA in relation to section 80G and Rule 17A in relation to section 12A of Income Tax Act. So I'll start with Rule 2C. I'll try to combine these rules since most of the material within this rule are more or less overlapping or similar to nature. So Rule 2C is applicable for trust, funds, institution, university, hospital, medical institution or similar institution. So there are basically four proviso in section 1023C. Proviso 1 to 4. Proviso number 1 and 4, there is a Form 10A which is to be filed, and for proviso 2nd and 3rd, Form 10B, 10AB is to be filed. Sorry, there is no Form 10B. So what is Proviso 1 and 4? Proviso 1 basically talks about people who are already registered, and Proviso 2nd is basically for people who are registered or will be registered under section 12AB and whose registration is going to be expired and they need to apply afresh within minimum 6 months before the expiry of registration. Proviso 3 is there for people whose provisional registration is about to expire in next 6 months, so you need to apply before that, and or if you want to commence your activity of your trust institution fund, you need to apply within 6 months of commencement. And Proviso 4 is a residuary proviso in which you need to apply 1 month before start of previous year relevant to assessment year for which you need to commence your activity. So in between also I'll pitch in two more provisos just to make a reference. It's basically not proviso. There are two additional clauses in section 12, in section 12(1) clause AC. These are sub clauses of clause AC. So in addition to these four clauses, these clauses talk about a scenario where a trust has become inoperative and it is to become operative by virtue of provision of section 11(7), or there has been some modification in trust document wherein the condition of registration are violated, so you need to re-register your trust within 30 days. So these are the two additional proviso or clauses you can say for which Form 10AB is to be filed. So I'll be starting with Form 1023AC, for which I have bifurcated. For clause 1 and clause 4 you need to file Form 10A, and for clause 2nd and 3rd you need to file Form 10AB. So there are certain attachments to be filed with these forms which I will be discussing after I discuss other sections, other forms or other rules for which we need to file for registration or registration, and plus there would be certain other conditions as well in relation to filing of these forms. So 1023C I have already discussed. So now I will be moving on to Form 80G, section 80G, for which applicable rule is section Rule 11AA. So again for that section also, for clause 1 and 4 Form 10A is to be filed, and clause 2nd and 3rd Form 10AB is to be filed. I'm trying to repeat it, maybe I'll repeat it couple of times more so that a better impression is made on the mind of viewer of this video. So again, section 80G, for 80G we have discussed Form 10A and 10AB. Now for section 12A. For section 12A again, for clause 1 and 6, not 4, because there are total 6 clauses there, and clause 6 is the residuary clause which is comparable to clause 4 of section 80G and section 1023C. So clause 1 and 6 you need to file Form 10A, and for clause 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th you need to file Form 10AB. Okay. And coming to section 35, in section 35 there is no Form 10AB, you only need to file Form 10A only. So what will be the classification of form section 35? There are three type of institution covered under section 35. One is research association, second is university, college or institution, and third one is corporate or companies. So basically what kind of activities are there under these three categories? So activities are scientific research, social science research and statistical research. So research association and university, college and institutions are doing these three different kind of research under these three different heads, and for company they are doing under scientific research only. Okay, and for the registration of these section 35 institution or association lying under section 35, you need to file form 10A only. Okay, so now I'll come to some conditions or some format which the statutory authority will be using once you file your application under form 10 or 10AB. So once you file an application under form 10A, you will be issued a registration certificate under form 10AC, and in cases where you need to file application under section form 10AB, you will be given registration under form registration or non-registration or reply under form 10AD. Okay, plus there will be a unique registration number, 16-digit URN number, which will be issued by PCIT or CIT. This will be an alphanumeric code for unique identification of that trust, institution or fund. Okay, so while submitting the form under form 10A or 10AB, you need to file it with digital signature certificate or electronic verification code. So by digital registration certificate, I mean you need to attach the DSC in case where your return of your trust, institution or fund is already being filed with the help of digital signature. Whereas in case you are filing return otherwise than by using DSC, you can use EVC code. Okay, and then who has to attach EVC and who has to verify it? The person who is filing the income tax return of that fund, trust or institution, only they have to they are authorized to file the form 10A or 10B. Okay, however, if you have been allotted form 10AC, registration under form 10AC, and it is being found then you have given false, incorrect information or document which is misleading, then form 10AC will be revoked as if it has never been issued or it has never been granted to the assessee. Okay, however, in case of a provisional application after 1/4/2021, it will be valid from 1/4/2022 because you need to file at least 1 year before, as we discussed earlier also. So these are the things we need to keep in mind while getting our while applying our form. These are the conditions of relevant rule. Okay, now I will try to discuss form 10A and 10B. Even though if you go by if you go through form 10A or 10AB, you will find that most of the fields are self-explanatory. However, you need to choose the correct code. There is a point number 2 wherein you need to mention the code. So for code, I have also tried to summarize the formalities. For 10A, as you know, it is applicable for clause 1 and clause 4/clause 6 in case of a 12A, and for 10AB, the clauses or proviso which we are concerned with of relevant section are 2nd, 3rd and 4th and 5th, 4 proviso maximum. So form 10A is applicable for clause 1 and clause 6 or 4. So what will happen in section 12A application? If you are applying under clause 1 or clause 4, you need to choose code 1 and 3. For section 80G application, if you are applying under clause 1 and clause 4, you need to choose 11 and 12. So 1 against 11 and 2 against 12. So this is a comparison. However, if you are applying for section 2023C application, there are basically two clauses, two proviso applicable, proviso 1 and proviso 4 in this case. So basically there is one more thing to be look out while putting in code. You also need to go through section 1023C. 1023C, there would be clause number 4, 5, 6 and 6A. If your trust or institution or that organization is lying under clause 4, 5, 6 or 6A, then there are different code prescribed, and plus you also have to look in proviso of section 20, first clause of first proviso, relevant clause of first proviso of section 2023C, which is applicable. So it will be a matrix kind of a situation wherein on column level you can write clause 1, clause 2, clause 1 or clause 4 of the first proviso of 23C, or in row column you can write which relevant subclause or clause of section 23AC is applicable. So clause 4 of subsection 23AC is in relation to fund or institution which are charitable. Clause 5 is in relation to trust or institution which are religious of charitable nature. Clause 6 is in relation to university or educational institution which are not for profit. And clause 6A is applicable to hospital and other similar institution. So you need to identify in which category of these your trust or institution lies, and then whether you are applying under proviso 1 or proviso 4. So if you are applying under proviso 1, the code would be respectively 5, 6, 7, 8. No, sorry, excuse me, 5, 6, 7, 8 would be in form 10 AB. Let me correct myself. I am repeating again, the code would be 3, 4, 5 and 6 if you are applying under first proviso clause 1 of section 2023C. If you are applying under clause 4 of first proviso to 1023C, then the code will be 7, 8, 9, 10 with respect to 7 being with respect to fund or institution of charitable nature, 8 being trust or institution of religious or charitable nature, 9 being for university or education institution not for profit, and 10 being under clause 6A of section 2023C for hospital or other similar institution. Okay, now moving on to section 2023, moving on to form 10AB, not section. So clause 1 and clause 4 or 6 we have already covered. Now we will be concerned with in between clauses which are lying. So in case you are applying for section 12A, there are additional 4 clauses, because in comparison to section 2023C and section 80G, in which we had 4 clauses to their proviso, there section 23, there in section 12A under clause AC there are 6 clauses, so remaining 4 clauses are there which are respectively going to be coded as code 1, 2, 3 and 4. And whereas for section 80G the remaining clauses would be code number 13 and code number 14 with respect to clause 2 and clause 3 respectively. Now again coming to section 1023C, as I discussed just now, there are 4 clauses to section 1023C, clause 4, 5, 6 and 6A. So clause 4, the code is going to be 5 and then 6 and then 7 and then 8 for clause 6A. However, if you are applying for registration under clause 3 of first proviso to section 1023C, then the code in relation to nature of trust or institution or university or medical institution, you need to put in respective code as 9, 10, 11 or 12. So these are going to be code for these filling out these forms. Plus there is certain information which is going to be pre-populated based on whether you are applying for you are already registered or you are already registered in some other section as well, whether you have FCRA registration or not, whether you have registered under Darpan of Niti Aayog scheme. So these are the things which will be pre-populated, and you would be having that information and you will be able to fill it easily. So after this, one thing which remained to be discussed from filing of form, the nature of attachment which are to be put in along with these forms. So again, having said discussed this, the nature of our attachment for these forms are all of similar nature. So I will discuss a comprehensive list. Whatever is not applicable to a particular kind of form may not be attached to that form. So all the attachment has to be, there has to be a what you call self-certified, and I think one thing I did not discuss, all the form have to be filed online. Everything has to be done online. So you need not submit a physical copy of anything. So talking about attachment, you need to attach an instrument which created or establish the applicant. It may be fund, trust, institution, medical institution, college, university. So constitution document has to be there. If there is no constitution document, there has to be some document evidencing existence of that trust or institution. Registration certificate of maybe from ROC, registrar of firm, registrar of public trust, or registrar of societies. Copy of FCRA certificate. If you have already been granted any sort of registration under Income Tax Act, copy of registration certificate from that authority as well needs to be attached. If you had applied but your application got rejected, again you need to attach a copy of that rejection order as well. Okay, for example, in 23C you applied and it got rejected, and a copy of that rejection order needs to be attached. So particularly in relation to 2023C, suppose there is some business undertaking owned by that fund or institution, then copy of accounts of that business undertaking for the last 3 years or whatever period available, less than 3 years, you need to attach along with the audited results. If that trust, institution or fund is having a income from profit and gain of business or profession, then also a copy of accounts or profit and loss statement for the last 3 years needs to be attached, self-certified. Plus you have to attach a note on activity of trust, institution or fund or institution, so that the authority granting the registration would have a better understanding about the activity of the trust. Okay, so these are the predominant documents which are required. So yes, in relation to section 12A application, couple of additional things might also be required. If that trust or institution is in existence for more than 3 years, so last 3 years account statements, financial statement are also to be attached in addition to undertaking, in addition to financial statement of business undertaking under section 11(4) of Income Tax Act, or if they have a business income, profit and gain of business or profession as described under section 11 subsection 4A, those are also required to be attached if they are in existence prior to the date of application. Plus, if the application is being filed in relation to section 12A application in relation to some modification to terms and condition of their document, then a certified copy of that document which establishes the change in terms and condition or modification in objects of that institution or trust, that also needs to be filed. One more thing I forgot to discuss in relation to section 35 application, which is to be filed in form 10A, the code which we need to put in form 10A. So the code ranges from 13 to 19. So there are, as I discussed earlier, there are 3 categories of organization. One is research association, second one is university, college or institution, and third one is company. For research association there are 3 categories. For category scientific research, code is 13. For category social science research, the code is 14. For category statistical research, the code is 15. And similarly 16, 17, 18 for these 3 categories they are under university, college and institution category. And for company only scientific research is there, for which you need to put in code number 19. I hope you would have got a very basic idea about filing of form 10A or 10B, 10AB. If you need to ask any question in relation to form number 10A or 10B, how to file it, then I would be glad to assist you in that regard. However, the Income Tax Department is duty bound to provide you with all the infrastructure so that online filing of this form is made in an easy and effective manner. Do let me know if you need any assistance or any clarification is required in relation to procedural aspect of filing these applications. Thank you very much for watching the video.